Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of our webinar with Annexa and Zone Co. We'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to join and we'll get into it. So quick introductions, myself, Ananda Iyer. For those who don't know me, I look after the customer success here at Annexa. So effectively our 140 odd customers across ANZ are my responsibility. So making sure you're getting the best out of NetSuite, and then like today, introduce you to those best of breed systems that help extend the capabilities of NetSuite. Happy to introduce Herb. Do you want to give yourself an intro, Herb?
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Herbert Hayes. I'm fairly new to Zone. Used NetSuite years ago, and I'm happy to be part of the Zone team. My title is APAC Sales and Alliance. So we basically look after anyone that's a NetSuite user that's keen to know about Zone products, and we're here to help. So that's all from me. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself and the lovely Isla?
Yes, I can. So Ashley Nordstrom, and I'm the solution consultant for our APAC region. So I, of course, do the product demonstrations for all of our applications. And yes, as Herb mentioned, we should have put the little picture for Isla on here as well, because she's technically the boss of the region, the little 6-month-old here. So she's joining our session today as well.
Quietly joining.
Yes, hopefully it stays that way.
For sure. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So in terms of an agenda, we'll just go a bit of an overview of Annexa and Zone Co, and then just get straight into it. It's really important you see the functionality and how it can help your business. And then please, throughout the session, if you haven't used this program demo before, you can use the chat on the top right. You can open that up and just pop your questions in there, and we'll work through them on the go, or we will go through them at the end as well. So there'll be plenty of time for Q&A. A bit more about Annexa. So I've been around quite a number of years, over 30 years now. Started off with Sage in the last decade or so, focusing on NetSuite and its capabilities in the cloud, a platform that obviously can help you expand your go-to-market. So we've got now around 140 customers across ANZ that we look after, and across our team about 40 to 50 consultants who can help both from a functional and technical aspect. And we're really keen to not only just help you with NetSuite, but also your entire business portfolio. So that's why we partner with guys like Zone Co. As we know, NetSuite does a good broad brush solution for you, but there's always best of breed systems out there that can help extend and scale with you, and that's where Zone Co come in. So really excited to introduce these guys again and go through a couple more of their apps to extend your capabilities. Over to you, Herb, on a bit more on Zone Co, please.
Terrific. Okay, we can may as well jump straight into the next slide. What you'll find, the thing I really wanted to share with you is the fact that in 2021, Insight, who's a private equity firm, invested 76 million into the growth of Zone. And through that, we acquired a number of companies. First of all, Fast4, which gives us, again, native NetSuite applications to broaden our depth of products that we bring to market. So with the Fast4 acquisition, last webinar, we talked about zone capture and approvals, and today we're going to talk about ZoneReconcile and payments. In 2022, we acquired Satori Reporting. So if you're doing inventory or anything like that, and you wanted to bring in NetSuite data and your inventory management data, we've got Satori Reporting. And then the recent acquisition is Infinite Cloud. So if you want to bring NetSuite native payroll in, you can do that through the Infinite Cloud system. Okay, if we jump into the next slide. Okay, so today we're focusing on reconcile and payments. Now, for anyone out there that's using the NetSuite native bank rake functionality, what you'll find is by going with the Zone, we're just adding a whole bunch more intelligence into it. And so Ashley will share with you shortly about how all of the intelligence ties in, and you'll see just how powerful our Zone reporting, or sorry, our ZoneReconcile is, and also ZonePayments for Stripe integration. Okay, did you want to jump to the next slide, please? Okay, we've already spoken previously about native to NetSuite. So instead of our application sitting outside of NetSuite, we're within the walls of NetSuite. So it means for installation, you're just installing a bundle like a NetSuite bundle. Secondly, it looks and feels like NetSuite, so you're not having to relearn a whole new package. We're secure because we're sitting within the security walls of NetSuite. And whenever you're making data entries into the application, you're doing it straight into the NetSuite database. So it's not as though you're capturing data.
We've lost
Still on the call, or did I get it off? I'm back. Okay, so I don't know where I got up to. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll have a good idea about what native NetSuite apps means. Great, if we want to jump into the next slide. Okay, this is just a view of some of our clients. Of course, Young Henry stands up now for me, being a beer company. But I'm sure you've all heard of the Big Issue before, and Bing Lee. So that's just a few of the brand names that are using NetSuite today, or Zone today. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Ashley now and Isla, and I'll let them drive the show from here. Thanks, Ashley.
All right, thank you. So yes, as mentioned, we're here to look at ZoneReconcile and ZonePayments. So all of our applications are designed in mind to make the financial user's experience of NetSuite better, and of course more enhanced and more functionality behind that. So of course, BankRec is to help automate a lot of the processes that NetSuite native BankRec we find is quite, a bit behind the times on. So we're providing reconciliation all using the one screen. So you're not having to leave the Match Bank data screen in NetSuite to create a transaction, etc. We're giving you that user friendliness, that it's all interactive in the one BankRec screen. Multi-currency support of multiple file formats, unlimited statement uploads. And one thing that we do also that native NetSuite does not do is we can help support with the reconciliation of payment service providers, such as PayPal, Afterpay, Zip Money, etc. Obviously, the list goes on. I think the list increases every day of the different options out there. We do also have an SFTP connector. So this is where, if you're finding your bank connectivity for NetSuite is something that you haven't succeeded in getting that set up, obviously NetSuite does have limitations with that. So we do have a bundle called SFTP connector, and that is then going to give you a direct connection from NetSuite to a banking institution's SFTP server to do both a push and pull of data. So bring your statements across and also perhaps push out your ABA files across to the bank as well. So for BankRec, it is a very simple process. The upload would be the first step. Now that's whether that's coming via a bank feed or if you want to use the option for a manual import. It's then going to be presented on the reconciliation screen where you can, of course, make any adjustments that are necessary, and you can make those on the fly as well. And then, of course, just simply saving and processing that bank statement. Sorry, I just muted myself while I was coughing, so you weren't subjected to it. All right, so now I'm going to share my screen and we'll get into BankRec. And then after that, we will jump into ZonePayments. Okay, so first off, I don't have live bank feeds in this account because it is purely a demonstration environment. So I will be doing a manual upload for today. Before we do the manual upload, I do just want to point out a few of the functional comparisons between NetSuite and Zone. So of course we can manage payment different reasons. We can automatically pick up FX variations, payment discount reasons, support of advanced intercompany journals. We can support different file formats, and of course also custom fields and segments as well. So as you can see, the list of what we can do versus what NetSuite can do as BankRec functionality is obviously quite extensive. So we'll be running through a few samples of this. Obviously, timing wise, I understand we can't go hugely very technical today. So I'm just going to be importing my bank file. My computer mouse does not operate fast enough for me some days. So I will select submit. Okay, so we've got all of the very boring stuff referenced on the top here. So my bank account, my subsidiary, currency, date range, etc. But we really want to more get down into the functionality. So the line level detail here that we can post different transactions and have different matching kind of algorithms for that in the system as well. So my first column here, where I have the label of select, if there is the flag of yes, that means that we've picked this up for a transaction to be reconciled. We're either going to create a corresponding transaction based on the status of what we're matching to, or we'd simply match to something that's already in existence. So it depends where in that transaction's life cycle is it up to. Are we going to match to something or create a corresponding transaction? So my first line here is for a customer payment. The system has found a match based on the description that my customer has provided on the statement reference field. I am going to open this up because it also has another nice feature that's been embedded within the system. So I will navigate here to my option called pop-up. And this is going to present me with my customer's account. So here I can view other invoices and also what the system has flagged for auto allocation. Now you'll notice my customer has overpaid. Their invoice is for $1,368, but they have paid $1,370. So within the setup of our BankRec application, you can define if you would like the system to help automatically deal with both under and overpayments. So I have that functionality turned on, and I have it turned on to be allowed within a certain threshold as well. So this will create a corresponding transaction to deal with this overpayment of $1.12. My next line here has just simply worked on the vendor side instead of a customer. So it's going to be creating and applying a bill payment. My line 3 here, you'll notice the system hasn't picked up anything to actually reconcile against. But if I come to my pop-up here, the system will provide me with suggested transactions as well. So sometimes the statement text or the reference on your statement, particularly with sole traders or their trading name versus their company name, might not match what's in your NetSuite environment versus what's on their statement or your statement. So I do have some suggestions here, and we've searched based on a dollar amount within a certain date range, and we've populated some suggestions for you. So I could mark off Bluebird and hit submit. Now the system is also going to now remember that R. Smith belongs to the account Bluebird. So next time he pays, it will have it pre-populated with that customer field for me. Line number 4 here is simply an example of a parent-child relationship. So if I navigate again to this pop-up, it will present me with the open transactions related to the children of my parent company here. So I can go in and mark these off as well and submit. Obviously, I don't have variances because I've done this just for a demo. I don't want to kind of get too technical. I just want to demonstrate different scenarios for you. Line number 5 here is actually a foreign exchange transaction. So my invoice was actually raised in euros, but my payment in my bank is converted to AUD. So if I open my pop-up here, we can also automatically convert back the AUD amount and pre-populate the exchange rate that's applicable to this AUD amount and pay that euro invoice in full. So that was just to obviously demonstrate that functionality of the system. I do have some transactions that are being pre-coded to expense accounts here. So you'll notice line 6 and line 9 are posting to expense accounts. So you can have some rules set up in the system that can search for keywords such as bank charges, Google AdWords, and when it meets certain criteria, the system will know how to post that relevant line item. And we can make it applicable with tax and predefine department, location, class, etc. My next line here is for a Stripe payout. So I'm going to be demonstrating the Stripe side in our next, session 2 of this webinar. I'm going to post my next line here as an advanced intercompany journal, which I can do directly off this line as well. So I can define my ending location. I would like this to go, which is management fees, and my subsidiary that I would like this to post through and balance up to. Okay, so I've run through pretty much most of this bank statement that I wanted to run through. So I'm going to select save. The system is now going to go in and create these relevant transactions for me. So it's going to be creating my intercompany journal, my customer payments, even customer deposits, journal entries for those expense transactions. So as you can see, very user-friendly. I didn't have to leave this screen to attend to any of those transactions. Okay, so what I might do is, just for the pure sake of saving time, I'm going to have to wait for this to load just for a moment. So I'll stop sharing and we'll run through my few slides that I have for Stripe. Do I have to hit share? Oh, there we go. We've got it. So we'll run through these few slides just while we wait for my bank rec to create those transactions. So now we're also going to be looking at ZonePayments. So this is our direct integration to Stripe. So there's going to be no middleware between your NetSuite environment and your Stripe account. Now, ZonePayments, we do have it in development to be accepting different payment service providers, not just Stripe. At the moment, it is only developed for Stripe, but we will be expanding that offering in future releases of the product. So it's designed to help automate your invoice to cash, of course, designed to stay completely compliant, provide a better customer experience as well. So really nice, integration, web links to kind of pay that can have your branding and stuff on there. And of course, as mentioned, there is no middleware and no code. PayPal. I'm hoping we're going to support PayPal. The last I heard, it was like Apple Wallet and Google Pay, I think was also on the listing. But I imagine PayPal being such a huge platform that we will be eventually supporting that as well. So it's designed to be a very turnkey application. So installation and implementations generally are only an hour's process. We would need you to have a Stripe account already set up, and we would simply use your API keys from Stripe, save them in our bundle, and then that's how we're providing that direct link from NetSuite to your Stripe account. So yes, very seamless experience. We help with the auto reconciliation. And of course, we are fully compliant because no details are stored within NetSuite. Card details, they're all still stored within Stripe. And of course, Stripe has its own compliance that it has to meet as well. So I'm probably not going to cover off against this. I feel like I'd just be repeating myself. So we'll just skip to the next slide, which is then I will reshare my screen. Okay, entire screen 2, yes. Okay, so really quickly before, I'm just waiting for it to actually tell me it's shared properly. So before we quickly move on to ZonePayments, I just wanted to now show my bank rec. It's got the links to all of my transactions that have been posted. So my customer payments, my journals, etc. So yes, very nice and easy platform to do all of that in the one screen. So I've got some invoice samples here that have been pre-seeded just purely for saving time. I didn't think I needed to create invoices and save them while on the demo. So I do have some examples already set up in my account. So for ZonePayments, once the bundle is installed, you're going to have a couple of different options on how payments can be created. So on an invoice, you're going to have a tab called ZonePayments. So, I've lost my own thing here. Sorry, it's under billing. So this is where I can process a payment directly in my NetSuite environment. So let's say someone has called me over the phone to pay their invoice. So I'm going to have a nice pop-up under billing here where I can enter those card details and process my payment. So that's going to be one of our payment options that we're going to provide to you. My next option is going to be a payment link that would be embedded on your PDFs that would be sent out from your NetSuite environment. So when you're sending out your invoices via email, we will have a Pay Now link associated on those, so they'll be able to navigate to the Stripe portal and make a payment. So here I've got Pay Your Invoice here. So I can simply click on this link. And now I'm presented with my payment window. As you can see, I've got my lovely Zone branding on this. So we'd also then be able to put, your company background on here, your logos, also change the coloring of these buttons to kind of make it look and feel a lot more like your business branding as well. So I got my invoice here. So this is a one-to-one relationship because I've paid the link, selected the link off the invoice itself. I can visit Payment Center and that would give me a statement overview, but I am going to do that on the next step because I want to actually pay one of these invoices. So I'm going to one-handedly, for some reason it doesn't remember my email address. I have to type in, it must be a setting on my browser. Select my credit card and I would simply hit process. I'm going to also, oh hi. You'll notice down the bottom here, I've got the option to save my payment method. So you don't have to give your clients this option. But if I select save payment method, it would mean that Stripe would be able to store their card details. And anytime an invoice became due, your customer has said it's fine to automatically debit that card. That is functionality only your customers can turn on. You can't mandate them to do it. So that would be them deciding to store their card details for automatic debiting. So now that's been paid, they would have received a receipt and notification on the email address that they had put in the system. Now we're going to have a quick look at my statement pay option. So I'm going to open up an invoice here. I'm going to click the Pay Now link, but I'm then going to go visit Payment Center, and that's going to give me an overview of all of my outstanding transactions. So I'm then going to be able to do a bulk payment. So I'm going to select Visit Payment Center. So now my customer is having a nice overview of any invoices they have outstanding, as well as any credit notes to possibly pick up as well. Credit notes are something you can turn on or off if you want customers to be able to apply that themselves, or you may apply that against invoices in your NetSuite environment and not give them the option to have this visible. You will also notice that I can't tick the credit application here until I have an invoice selected. So we're not allowing customers to refund credit memos back to their own card details. They're having to have it applied against an invoice here. So now I've got an invoice selected. I can actually tick this and you'll see it's referencing now a payment of $400. So I can tick all of them. You can also have the functionality turned on if you're going to let your customers make partial payments. You may want them to pay in full and not have that functionality available to them. So for the moment, I could say I actually only want to pay $500 instead of this full $1,200. And you'll notice here my balance selected for payment has also decreased by changing this amount to $500. So we'll quickly put these details back in. Sorry, guys. Okay. So now I would be able to process, and we're going to pick up all of these as a payment batch. Okay, so that's the different options. We do also have the option to pay sales orders as well, so it's not just invoice transactions. For today, I'm probably not going to have time to also run through those as well, but we do have that functionality for payment links to be on sales order transactions. I'm going to quickly come back now to my NetSuite environment. And part of the reconciliation process is not only do we talk to Stripe when you're automatically paying a transaction, when there is a payout event that's been scheduled from Stripe, the system will also pick up that payment event and run that reconciliation process in your NetSuite account automatically as well. So you're not even having to worry about the reconciliation process from the payout event. So this payout event here was referenced on that bank statement we had just reconciled. So there was the deposit of Stripe. Now, if I come to my balance sheet for my Stripe account here, I'm going to open this up. So I've got where my auto payout had done the deposit for that from Stripe. This is my side from my bank rec. So they have cleared themselves out. And this is a new payout event. I obviously haven't reconciled up to this date yet. So when I did and I officially received those funds in my trading account, then this would of course match my payout. We do also directly pick up the fees from Stripe. So if I come to my payout event, sorry, I am navigating. I'm trying to fit as much in as I possibly can before my time window is up and I have to hand back over to the team. So on the deposit from the payout from Stripe, of course, they're going to take a fee out of this. So what they're paying you isn't actually going to reference the full invoice transaction in your NetSuite account. So part of the reconciliation process will make sure the invoice is being acknowledged, you've received the funds in full, and we will automatically create the entry for the chargeback amount as well. And you would define where you want that posted to as well. So what account you want the chargeback to be posted to in the system. So that's how we can fully automate that reconciliation process. So you don't even have to worry about the fees that Stripe is then charging you for processing these transactions as well. Okay, guys, that's, I think, probably enough from me, and I can hand it back over to the team, and then we'll probably also have some time for some Q&A as well at the end of the session.
Sensational, Ashley. Thank you. Okay, so as far as implementation goes, it's all a very, very simple exercise. We load the bundle. With regards to pricing, feel free to get back with us and we can get together and discuss pricing. With bank reconciliation, it's really simple. It's $1,800 for up to 10 bank accounts. And we do also enable you to do credit card imports as well. And the reason we have it separate is quite often your credit cards in your GL is titled differently to bank accounts, but we can get into that in a separate webinar. What we found after our last webinar we did with Annexa, we would have done over half a dozen one-on-one demonstrations to take people through the product in more detail, and we'd be more than happy to do this on a one-on-one basis. And quite often people tend to feel more comfortable asking questions during this time. Somebody's asked about different bank account supports. We do the majors, NAB, COM, ANZ, Westpac. It's interesting, I've had mixed reports on Westpac. Apparently they like to charge something like 20 grand to set up an SFTP server. I don't know how true or false that is. I haven't been able to get it verified by another source. So
I guess.
yeah, and if you've got other,
Sorry, Herb, I'm going to take over this. So we would support all banks
go for it.
with the import functionality, so a manual import. It's just whether a bank institution has an SFTP server for the bank connectivity side. So any institution would be supported for bank rec itself. It's just whether we can automate the bank feeds or not would be the differing answer to that question.
For sure. And also, if you're using the NetSuite native import, Ashley, can you just talk a little bit more about that? Is it purely with only one particular bank, or is it with multiple banks, whether or not the NetSuite native works?
Yeah. So if you have pre-existing bank feeds into your NetSuite account, you can still use our bank rec application. We would just need those bank feeds from NetSuite to be stored somewhere in the filing cabinet, and we can then still pick those files up as well. Cool.
So yeah, and the same thing as usual. If you do want to get it loaded, we normally stick it onto your sandbox first, test it out there for a period of weeks, and then when you're happy with how it's working, we can always move it onto your production server. So with the journals from the bank reconciliation, can you select multiple GL accounts? Ashley, I believe that's a yes, correct?
It is. I didn't have time to show that in our demonstration today, but you can, yes.
Yes, you can, for sure. Fantastic. Are there any other questions?
Did you need to cover that, Herb, or it's very similar implementation for payments?
Very similar, yeah, exactly. Same thing. We can, if people want more information, I'm happy to do another one-on-one demonstration for them if they wish.
Just a couple of additional questions. How quickly can we fire up a project? Is there a lead time or?
Yeah, the way it normally works is if people have the paperwork back to me on a Friday, all the jobs get handed out to implementation team members on a Monday evening. So if we had your paperwork back today or tomorrow, we can go into the pool for the Monday evening allocations. From there, within 2 weeks, we've loaded the bundle onto your system, and we've sent correspondence just to outline the procedure of how the implementation will work. And we'll tee up config meetings and then training meetings, and we basically go from there. Typically 2 to 4 weeks, we like to say that we're ready to go onto your production server. It just depends on the complexity of your own setup. Is we are, for example, we're working with some clients with multiple languages, multiple currencies, multiple subsidiaries. So it can then tend to get quite complex, but most of the time it's all pretty simple.
So essentially, if the customer's available, you're available to get going. That's great. And then in terms of where you guys are based, where is it? Can you do this remotely, or do you need to be on site? What's the mix typically?
It's purely remote. We don't need to be on site. We just simply gain access to be able to load the bundle onto your NetSuite implementation, and away we go from there. There's really no need to be on site.
Great. Perfect. Okay, there was no other questions that came through. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. I know it's the tail end of the month and everyone's really busy, but as you can see, great capabilities there to help with your month-end processing. So please, if you want to find out more, if you're an existing Annexa customer, just reach out to your customer success manager or myself. If you're not, there's details there to follow through. We'll also send out links to this webinar and the one we did a few weeks ago that covered the OCR scanning and approvals process. You can see the other capabilities that Zone Co offer. It'd be great to just set up a one-on-one, talk through your specific requirements and get up and running. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Lovely.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Have a great
Bye.
day, everyone.